The countdown to the coronation is on. Here's a live shot tonight of Buckingham Palace. It's coming. There it is. In less than 12 hours, the coronation of King Charles III will happen, a ceremony that most of us have never seen in our lifetimes. This is also a day for final preparation, including for King Charles himself. King Charles and royal family members greeted fans today, and tomorrow thousands will gather to celebrate around London and at Westminster Abbey. The CBC's Renee Filipponi has more on the coronation from London.
Well, David, it just keeps getting busier here. More people are coming. They're putting down chairs. They're waiting. The clock is ticking now. It really is just hours until the coronation, and everyone here is hoping that that rain is going to hold off so it doesn't get too uncomfortable here tonight. Now, the big moment for these folks here will happen just after 10 a.m., and that is when the King and Queen are going to get in the Diamond Jubilee carriage, and they are going to head down the Mall all the way to Westminster Abbey for the event. We know there are 2,300 people invited, far fewer than the 8,000 at the Queen's coronation, and there are over 100 heads of states. Now, when it comes to the coronation, the focus is going to be on service. It will obviously be steeped in religion and tradition, but they said they will also try to focus and bring in other faiths to reflect the diversity of not just Britain and the UK, but the Commonwealth as well. Once that's wrapped up and he's been pronounced king, coronated, as they say, they will get back in a different carriage. That's the Golden State carriage, again, coming down the Mall, joined by other members of the royal family, 4,000 members of the military, including a number of RCMP officers on horseback who are actually going to be in front of the king down the Mall on the way to the palace. Now, the final event, the big event tomorrow is, for many, is when they get on that balcony and they wave to the crowds who will be waiting outside Buckingham Palace. At this point, we don't know exactly who is going to be on that balcony. And there is one other thing that we don't know about right now, is whether or not the flyover is going to happen. And that is because there is a lot of rain in the forecast for tomorrow. So a lot of people hoping that that forecast doesn't come down as predicted. David?
Thank you, Renee. That's the CBC's Renee Filipponi in London. So, what will Canada's role in tomorrow's coronation be? Ralph Goodale is Canada's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. He joins us from London. Commissioner Goodale, it's good to speak with you again.
Very nice to be with you again.
So, what is it like in London right now? What are the vibes in London on the eve of a coronation?
Oh, a lot of vibes, and they seem to be very happy ones. The city is, of course, very packed to start with, but with all the extra guests and visitors, London is very, very busy. Here at Buckingham Palace, of course, the mall runs down toward Trafalgar Square, and all the prime spots on both sides of the mall are already staked out by people who've been camping there for several days. And I notice as I drive up the mall, there are lots and lots of Canadian flags on display, so Canadians are in the crowd and anticipating, I think, a very happy day tomorrow.
So what role will Canada be playing in this happy day, as you describe it? What role will Canada have in the coronation tomorrow?
Well, several things. We have already, of course, participated by presenting the new horse to His Majesty from the RCMP. Right next to us here is Canada Gate, part of the memorial that is built around Buckingham Palace, and we officially reopened Canada Gate after it had been refurbished, so it's all set to be on glorious display during the ceremonies. In the Abbey itself, the service runs from about 11 in the morning until about 1 p.m. People will be actually taking their places in the Abbey starting as early as 8 p.m. 8 a.m. rather. The Canadian delegation is absolutely full. We were allotted 19 positions, which is a larger number that is given to the realms, the countries in which His Majesty is the head of state. So we have a full delegation: the Governor General, the Prime Minister, the flag bearer, which of course is our most recent Canadian astronaut. We have scientists and educators and Indigenous leaders, people representing the diversity of Canadian life. So that's part of Canada's representation. And then outside the Abbey, there will be a military contingent from Canada, which will be the largest of any contingent outside of the UK. And of course, the RCMP will be a critical part of the procession as it heads away from the Abbey, with the RCMP leading all of the equestrian part of the procession. So it's going to be a big day, and Canada will be very prominent.
You mentioned Canada.
Oh, I should mention.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I should mention there is a special, a very special symphony orchestra that's been assembled for the purpose of the coronation, from symphony orchestras all over the UK, plus one from Canada. 2 musicians from the Regina Symphony Orchestra, I'm pleased to mention, and they will be performing as part of the ceremony tomorrow.
Right, once a Regina politician, always a Regina politician, right? That's why I have to get that in. But
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
You mentioned Canada's status, special status, as one of the realms because King Charles is the head of state. But there have been a lot of polls in both Canada and even in Britain itself that suggest that public support for the monarchy and the king are at historic lows. So I wonder what you make of that public sentiment going into the coronation of King Charles.
You know, I think when you've had a monarch that was so long on the throne and so beloved as Queen Elizabeth, and then when she passes away and the monarchy changes, I think it's natural that people will reflect on the institution and on the personality of the new incumbent, and there will be debate about where to from here, what kind of a new monarch will we have, and so forth. I think that examination is a normal thing. It's a good and healthy thing in a democracy. And people, I think, will have an opportunity to assess again and to grasp again the importance of what it means to have a constitutional democratic monarchy as your form of government, where there's a clear separation between head of state and head of government. Head of government deals with all the politics. Head of state is impartial, is inclusive, represents what unifies us, represents continuity and stability, and those values that Canadians cherish. And there's a very important quality to have that separation between head of state and head of government. And I think people will reflect on that, and at the end of the day, come to a favorable conclusion.
But you know, as this transition is happening there tomorrow, Canada's made some changes here, right? It's dropped the King's Defender of the Faith title. It's changing the royal coat of arms, changing how the crown looks, for example. You know, is this Canada distancing itself from the traditional monarchy, or is this just modernization?
I think it's modernization, and it's also emphasizing the Canadian part of His Majesty's responsibility. He is obviously the King of the United Kingdom, and 14 other countries, one of which is Canada, and our focus is on the King of Canada. And therefore, the references to the United Kingdom are in the context of the monarch's constitutional responsibilities. Those references are irrelevant. Mm-hmm. What matters is the responsibility as King of Canada, and that's what the legislative changes reflect. We have our own emblem for the coronation. We have our own symbols and stamps and medals and so forth. All of that will be revealed in further detail at the official ceremony in Ottawa that will be taking place on Saturday morning.
You know, just as a final point, yesterday the King had an audience with Indigenous leaders from First Nations, Métis,
yes,
and Inuit communities here, and they invited him to come here at his earliest opportunity as King. Now, I know he just visited while Prince, I mean, what is the likelihood that we might see a royal visit by the newly minted King Charles to Canada in the near future?
I think it will happen relatively quickly. As you point out, Prince Charles was just there last spring, and the agenda for the new king is very jam-packed in the weeks and months immediately ahead. But I know there is serious conversation going on right now about when the first available date would be for a journey to Canada. To continue the dialogue with Indigenous leaders and to visit and participate in all the other dimensions of Canadian life. The tough thing will be deciding what you can jam into a royal agenda to cover as many bases as you can in a relatively short span of time. But that meeting yesterday with the King, His Majesty, and the Governor General and the 3 nationally elected Indigenous leaders is, I think, very significant. That is the first time in history that kind of a meeting has taken place. And it signifies the King's interest in Indigenous people and in the process of reconciliation and healing. And given the fortunate combination of His Majesty with the Governor General, an Inuit woman who is the vice-regal representative in Canada, in Mary Simon, this is a very fortunate team that I think could have a very positive influence on the course of Canadian history.
High Commissioner Ralph Goodale, thanks for your time and enjoy the coronation on Saturday.
Thank you very much.